everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college basketball coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young, bright assistant, a great friend, someone I consider a brother, a North Miami Beach, Florida native, by way of, Nigeria, where he spent the first 3 years of his life. And I can apologize now if I'm saying it wrong. He'll correct me if I am. Charles Agumagu, and I may be saying it wrong. Agumagu. I'm sorry, Agumagu. Just want to welcome Charles to the show. So let me say a little bit about Charles before we even get started with him. He played at Barry University down in Florida. From there, after his career was over, he went to St. Thomas University, NAIA school down in Miami Gardens, Florida. And then from there, he came up to Baltimore. I mean, can't wait to hear that a little bit. He ended up coming up to Baltimore, being the director of basketball operations at Coppin State for Juan Dixon. And then the last 3 years, it's been 4 years total. He's been at Coppin State. He's been an assistant coach, and he's done a terrific job in rebuilding that program. So I want to welcome Charles to the show.
Coach Barrett, man, thank you so much for having me. Completely blessed, and to be honest with you, man, I don't even deserve the honor to sit down and talk with you, but I thank you for, since the day we met at I guess it's Run and Shoot in DC, right? You've been a mentor to me. You've been more than a brother, but like a father figure, and I thank you for giving me the knowledge and just hitting gems that a lot of people don't really understand it takes to thrive and survive in this business, right? And man, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I could just say, I reached out, asked Charles to come on the show. He didn't even hesitate. Didn't even ask me what it was about. He just said, "I'm in." So I appreciate that.
Of course.
So look, Charles, let's go ahead and let's get unmasked. First thing I'd like to start the show out with, and you got into this business. You started at NAIA school, but then bam, you go into Division I. You was an ops, you didn't get on the road, but people don't understand, there's no handbook to being a college coach. I think it's really only two professions in the world. Either you're a salesman or a college basketball coach, where they just tell you, go do this. They don't even tell you what to do. They just say, get it done. Yeah. So tell me about your first day, first week, first month, after things like human resources and orientation, especially when no one gives you direction. Kind of tell me about that.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, man. I still remember the first conversation I ever had with Coach Dixon, right? And at 23 years old, 24 actually, excuse me, I know Coach Dixon as the dude who led the Maryland Terps to a national championship, right? NBA first round pick. I know Coach Dixon's basketball background. So to be on the phone with him and he telling me that he can't wait for me to get up there, a young man who he's never met. And Lamar, to be honest with you, man, my story is so centered and entwined in faith that is crazy. So the jump looks like a crazy one, like an unprecedented one, to be a 23-year-old assistant at an NAIA school, right? And then after a year with no other experience, to be blessed and fortunate enough to be hired as a double at Coppin State University Division I school. And man, I could just take you through that process. My first head coach, Coach Patrick Gale, who's now a head coach at Albany State University, NCAA Division II school. He had a one-on-one meeting with me after our season was over. And we had a really good year, man. We won 20 games, lost only 9. Was ranked as high as 4th in the country in the NAIA polls. And, we had a one-on-one meeting, and he told me he didn't have plans of bringing me back. And, as a young assistant, you're like, whoa, what'd I do wrong? but truthfully, God used him, right, to catapult me to my next step, right? And he told me that he felt like there was more from me than just to be an NAIA assistant, right? So then it started the journey of trying to be a GA or double or whatever I could find, right? And through a lot of prayer, a lot of fasting, and just by God's grace, I was able to get in contact with former assistant Phil Gaetano, who's at Merrimack College now. And he got me linked up to Coach Dixon, and the rest is history. But I remember getting off that plane, man, my first day in Baltimore. I'm like, oh, this is different. This isn't Miami. This is completely different. And it's funny because Coach John, who's our associate head coach, has been our associate head coach for 4 years. And then Coach Phil was like, whatever expectations you have of Division I, throw them out the window because this is completely different. Completely different. And boy, they ain't lied. It was different, man. It was new. It was new. Understanding how HBCUs work, understanding how Division I work. And, you know, I was hired as a volunteer assistant. I made $0.00, right? I had a part-time job to take care of my living expenses, whatever the case may be. But I was just so grateful for the opportunity, right? So thank you for the opportunity. And my official title was Director of Operations. But my first week, I took my NCAA recruiting exams because there was only 2 other assistants, so I was allowed to go recruiting. And, man, that was the best thing for me. It allowed me to go out to watch the talent, to mingle with other coaches, such as yourself, right? To network, to grow, and to build organic relationships. So my first week, hit the ground running. I remember we had summer school, so I had to organize our class schedule to correspond with workouts. I had to do my studying for the NCAA recruiting test, right? I was passed to go recruiting, and the first week was a lot, man. It hit me quick, like, good Lord. And it's funny you said that there was no handbook, because there wasn't. It wasn't like you need to do blah, 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 blah. You need to make sure A, B, C, D, and F is done. No, man, it's whatever needs to be done, plug in, get it done. So my first year there was a whole learning experience, right? Learning how things operate. I was learning, like, who to talk to for certain things. I was learning who not to go to, who not to rub the wrong way. It was just a whole learning experience. But it made me a better person, not just a coach, a better person, because you have to be able to adjust in life.
That's good, man. That's good. Like, talking about recruiting, and you're fortunate because, you know, director of basketball ops don't usually recruit.
Yeah.
You know, it's an administrative position,
Yeah.
but because of the way that HBCUs are, and they got, you know, 2 full-time assistants and the third guy is administrative / you're doing double work. So
yeah.
Speaking of recruiting, like, what was your best and then your worst recruiting story?
Oh, wow. It's kind of all intertwined, right? Okay. Intertwined. So a coach that coached me as a player, right? His name is, why am I blanking on him? Is Miles Davis, right? A mentor to me, a big brother to me. He was at a prep school in Atlanta, Georgia, right? That, to be told, had some guys that can really go, right? So it was Lincoln Academy. I'm not quite sure if they're still up, but it was Lincoln Academy.
They just closed.
Yeah. There we go. And Atlanta, Georgia, he was associate head coach there at Lincoln Academy. And there was a player by the name of Damian Ball who signed with Memphis, right? Because he's a Memphis, Tennessee native. And I was like, and he told me about Damian. Not too many schools were talking about him. And I was like, screw it. Why not? Coach, we got to offer him. Let's talk to him. So, you know, Coach Dixon is amazing at giving his assistants autonomy. Like, yo, if that's a kid you want to recruit, show me the film. If I stamp him, I'll offer him, and then you got to get it done, right? Let's get it done. So I was speaking to the then Lincoln Academy head coach, forget his name, and like, I forget what happened. I'm trying to build a relationship, right? And for some reason, Damian decides to transfer back home, right? And the head coach doesn't tell me, right? I have to hear from Coach Miles that the young man transferred, right? And I was really upset. I think we were on our way to play UConn, and I was really upset. And I told him, I was like, yo, I understand I'm Charles Agumagu. I understand I'm a no-name assistant at Coppin State University, right? But I'm pretty sure if this was CY at Florida State, right? If this was Jeff Capel at Duke, and I'm not saying I'm those guys. I'm saying if it was one of them that was recruiting Damian Ball, if that young man left your program, you would have gave them the courtesy to let them know, right? And I guess that message rubbed him the wrong way, and he actually called my compliance director saying, Dobo is recruiting, and I don't think he's allowed to, but clearly, like, you understand, it was only 2 full-time assistants, right? And I did my exam, and that was interesting. That was an interesting one. Another young man, I'll tell you my best. I'll tell you my best one first before I get to this next guy. My best recruiting story would be Brendan Medley-Bacon, right? 7'2" center now, who has subsequently transferred to VCU. I remember seeing him play in New Jersey. It was like a hoop group event with Team Thrill, right, in New Jersey. And I tried to really, really get ingrained in Baltimore basketball, right? Try to see who I need to talk to see some Kirk guys, like the Team Thrill guys, see who I need to just build a relationship with, right? And a lot of people build relationships that aren't organic. And I really want to build organic relationships. Whether or not I get a player from you or not, I want you to know that I'm an honest person. I'm a real person. So, I was following Team Thrill around at the hoop group event, and I had Coach Dixon with me. And, man, we saw this 7'1" center, right, 17-year-old who could really move, right? Didn't really have too much of a post game because it's a little bit on the light side, but just like he encompassed everything that we needed. Mind you, I was center from the past season. Our first year was 6'4" and managed to average a double-double, right? So we see a 7'1" kid, we're like, ooh, he can be really good for us. Recruited him successfully. I remember making a call before he committed to his mother, right? And Lamar, when I tell you this young man was 48 hours from going to a prep school in Vermont, I'm like, Coach, we got to close the deal. We can't lose him. We cannot lose Brandon Medley-Bacon. Came in as a freshman, 17 years old, played very limited minutes, right? Because the 6'4" center that I talked about was a junior our first year, a senior our next year. Played spot minutes, had a few starts. But this past season for us was unbelievable. Was an all-conference performer. Rose to 8th all-time in blocks, right? In school history. Broke a school record with 24 rebounds in the game. Was top 10 all-time in double-doubles, right? So he was a recruiting success. And it's funny enough, myself and the strength coach of ours just had lunch with him because he goes to VCU tomorrow to start, his new career. And we are happy for him and proud of his new endeavors. So that was a great one. And a funny story I'll tell you, and I'll leave it at that, is as a young assistant, as assistant period, you're always told to recruit your home state, right? But I'm kind of in a catch-22. I'm in the DMV, right? I'm where guys from Idaho and Nebraska and Florida come to recruit, right? I'm also kind of in a place where the budget is very minuscule as far as recruiting goes, right? So it's really hard for me to go to my AD and have him, or my compliance director, or the budget guy, whoever, and have him sign off on a trip to Florida, right, to watch the JUCO or AAU event. When, man, you got all these events at the Matha, right? Why don't you go to the Matha or go to VA or whatever the case may be? So, like, I get a hard time from not recruiting the state of Florida, right? So this a young man who subsequently committed to LSU. So it seems that I'm on the right kids, right? His name was Charles Manning Jr., right? Originally from the New Jersey, New York area, played for the New Jersey Jayhawks. I think it's Jayhawks, New Jersey Jayhawks, whatever. New York Jayhawks, there it is. The New York Jayhawks. I had a relationship with a young man who was a Jayhawks coach, right? The young man was a 6'5" guard, freshman qualifier, who averaged double digits, right, out of JUCO in Florida, and like shot the lights out the ball. And he only had one offer, and it was from Drake. And it was because his former head coach took an assistant job at Drake. So I'm looking at the offer like, man, that don't even count because you coached the kid. Don't even count. So I'm blowing up his new head coach's phone, and the head coach tells me like, man, I'll be honest with you, you don't even have a chance. I'm like, geez, Louise, bro. Can I talk to the kid? And in retrospect, right? In retrospect, I guess he was trying not to waste my time. But damn it, I wanted my time wasted with that kid. Because I believe he was worth it. Long story short, the head coach stopped returning my calls, stopped texting me. And me being, I guess me being overzealous, right? Overzealous. I reached out to the AD like, hey, I just want to get this kid's transcript together. Because the way our compliance work, we need to make sure if we put any money into this kid, we bring him on a visit, that he's going to qualify. Yeah, that he's eligible. So we got to see transcripts. So, reached out to the AD. And in retrospect, I was wrong because the young head coach just got the head coaching job, right? And you reaching out to the AD looks bad. And, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do that. But me being overzealous and just wanting to prove myself at 24 that I belong, right? Because when I got hired as the director of ops, there were so many guys like, yo, how did he get the job? What has he done? Not a high caliber basketball player. What ties does he have, right? And I just wanted to prove like I deserved it, right? That I can recruit, I can identify talent at a high level, right? That I deserve it. So, that young man not supposedly, but had an All-American season and is at LSU now. And I to this day, that coach won't pick up my call, and I've apologized several times, but rightfully so. Time heals all wounds. So
they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Pretty good stories. Now you're young, you're in the business, but like you said, you moved. I mean, to be in Division I as an assistant coach, 23, 24 years old, that's huge. But like, you still what? Because everyone doesn't understand this business from there's a lot of time involved. Like it's 355, 360 days. It's 12, 15-hour days. Like you don't know 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, they could get into stuff. You get a text message, call 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of stuff to go with it. But what did you have to give up achieving your current level of success?
Sleeping in. Absolutely. Sleeping in is the first thing that comes to mind because my phone, I try to take care better self. I try to take better care of myself, So like I put my phone on do not disturb after like maybe 10 o'clock just so I can shower, brush my teeth, digress. If I have if I have a date or something like that, I can just kind of like wind down, right? But my ringer is never on silent because, like you said, 19 to 22-year-olds, they find ways to get themselves into things. You just like at 3 a.m, really. So being able to understand that you told parents that you have their son's best interests at heart and that you look out for them, right? And when they call you, you got to pick up, right? So putting aside like maybe sleeping 9 hours a night, right? Just to make sure that your student athletes are good, right? As well as mastering my craft. Like, man, I have my MacBook with me all the time. I'm on Synergy. I'm cutting film on Sports Code, right? I might understand a scout, right? But I want to know it to a T. When Coach Dixon asked me a question of what set do you believe they're going to run next, I want to make sure I have it coded. I can, what I'm saying, that I can remember to set it if I need to draw it up, right? So mastering my craft. And you know what? A lot of people don't understand that you have to sacrifice in order to get to the next level. And like I said, faith is a part of my story. I tell people all the time, I'm not religious, right? No, I'm just a Christian. what did God have to sacrifice for us to be on this earth right now with his only begotten son? Right? So when people feel like they can have everything and not sacrifice, it's false. Right? So the going out, oh, that's done for multiple reasons, because I learned really quickly, thank God for Coach Gale, that you're not just Coach Agumagu when you're in the office, right? You can be at Publix, you can be on South Beach, you can be at Fells Punk, and you're still Coach Agumagu, because the article won't read Charles Agumagu. It reads Coppin State University assistant, right? And you have to be mindful of what you're putting yourself, right, the places you're going, because it doesn't ultimately fall back on you, it falls back on your boss, right? So the going out, at a young age, partying, right? And I tell people, like, being devoted to one person, all right? And I tell my student athletes all the time, because for black men, young black men, that's your quickest downfall. The quickest downfall, because you don't want to be put in any type of news article, any type of scandal, right, that involves anything of that nature. So learning how to grow up, right, really growing up and sacrificing the late partying or the drinking or the fraternizing with any and everybody, man, that went out the window, right? And I just thank God that I'm comfortable being at home, or I'm a homebody. I'm cool with that, right? Because I know that I'm not getting in trouble. I'm setting an example, because a lot of times coaches tell their players to do what they say, not do what they do. But these young men are looking at what you do more than you even realize, right? So when you can FaceTime me and like, Coach Charles, what you doing? I'm with my girlfriend, just chilling. Oh, all right, bet. Or Coach Charles, what are you doing? Just watching film. What are you doing? Why are you doing it, right? So I guess to answer your question, the sacrifices I've made haven't really been sacrifices, or if anything, it's helped me stay out of trouble, because nothing good comes of being out at 2 or 3 a.m. Right? So just being able to, I guess my young adult life was sacrifice, but I know that my purpose was so much greater than that. I had no problem like putting that aside.
That's good, man. And speaking, you was talking about scouting reports. That goes into the next question. Like sometimes you give you can best scout report. Like you know everything they're gonna run. You've done all the work, and you lose big.
A lot.
Sometimes your worst scout report you like, man, I missed some of this, and then you go out and dominate the game.
Yeah.
But like, what was your best and worst scout report?
To this day, my best scout, and I truly, my best scouting report was against Notre Dame, and we might have lost that game by 9 points. But Lamar, when I said we were on their tails, we were on their tails, right? And we should have won that game. But it just wasn't in the cards. And I've learned, because as coaches, I just speak for myself. I know I'm a control freak, right? But it has nothing to do with your scout, brother. Most times it has nothing to do with your scout, right? Yeah, that's a pick and pop guy, and we didn't switch the ball screen, and he's just missing shots today, right? Sometimes it has nothing to do with your scout. It has everything to do with the preparedness of your team. And sometimes people think it's one and the same. It's really not. Sometimes being prepared is that these guys go to sleep when they're supposed to. Do they adhere to curfew, right? Or are these guys eating the right things, drinking the right things, right? How's their mental, right? How's the mental approach to the game? So I really think Notre Dame was my best scouting report, because I remember the speech I gave after the scouting report. I said, if someone told you you had to stop Notre Dame just one time to win the game, would you take it? And of course, the whole team said yes. I said, so let's stop them one time, then repeat it, then repeat it, then repeat it, then repeat it. Because that's all you have to do is put together strings of stops, right? And you give yourself a chance to win. So I really truly believe that was my best scouting report. My worst scouting report, which isn't too far from my best, honestly, was Davidson, right? And it wasn't because I missed actions, or it wasn't because I missed personnel, it was simply because I overemphasized everything. Right, I put too much time on their split action and their staggers, right, and their butt screens and what this guy can do and his secondary skill set. Like I made it about them and not about us, right? And subsequently, they beat the brakes off of us. Right, they're a really good team. And that I thought we were prepared because they run a lot of similar actions that we do, 5 out with split games and pitch games and pin downs and things of that nature. But I made it so much about Davidson that I took away from Coppin State, right? And that's one thing I try my hardest not to do. It's never about them. It's about us. Are we prepared? Are we ready? Do we know what we're going to run? Do we know what to expect? So those are the two different spectrums of the scouting report that I can talk about.
That's interesting. I like that. Biggest challenge you think you've experienced since you've become a college coach?
Understanding that even though we're close in age, I'm not your friend. Even though we like the same artist, I'm not your friend. Right? Even though we like the same shoes, I'm not your friend. I'm your mentor. I'm your big brother. See, because people get it confused. Not every kid needs a father figure. Right? Some do. Not every don't. But like, I'm your big brother. I'm your mentor, right? And there's a line of respect that needs to be addressed. Don't call me bro. I'm not your bro, right? I'm your coach. And I'm going to love you. And I'm going to tell you that, man, I think that outfit's a bad outfit. Trust me. I know it is. But at the end of the day, right, there's a certain level of respect that needs to be adhered to. And I have to carry my way. I have to carry myself in a certain way, right? That you look at me because I don't have the gray hair, right? I don't have the 20 plus years of experience, right? I'm entering my 4th year at Division I level, my 5th overall coaching, right? But we're not on the same level. We're not on the same page, right? So my biggest challenge is being able to carry myself in the right way, in the right manner, responding to things in the right way and doing all the right things. Because again, like I stated earlier, it's not do as I say, right? It's do as I do, right? So if I carry myself in a matter where I'm your coach, you're going to address me and respect me as such. So, yeah, that's kind of what I try to do.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Do you ever find that there are things about you that people misunderstand? You know, like what are they?
Absolutely. And my passion, because I'm really passionate, right? And I'll tell you a little anecdote. This past season, we're playing Morgan State at home, right? And I believe we got the worst whistle in the country, the worst whistle in the country. And I do all the halftime shows, right? And I was really upset, right? Not because of the officiating, but because I felt like our young men were prepared to play the game, but they were getting cheated out of it, right? So I let that passion, which can easily be translated as anger, right, boil over on the radio interview, whatever the case may be, and I ended up getting a fine for my comments, right? And I think, and I say this often, a lot of people know Charles Agumagu, but very few people really know Charles Agumagu, right? So it's easy to see me and like, man, that kid can be a bit much, but tenacious, right? A bit passionate about reaching out to the AD about a recruit, right? That kid can be angry if you don't return his calls by telling me like, why didn't you tell me a player transferred? I'm trying to recruit, right? But if you know me at my core and at my base, I'm passionate and I love all these young men. I love what I do. And because I love what I do, I'm grateful for it. So I put my all into it, right? So that's one thing I've learned how to better matriculate, because it's kind of like the Russell Westbrook thing. I have a chip on my shoulder, right? Like I'm very intrinsically motivated, but do I take external motivations? Yep, I got that in my back pocket. Yep, got that in my back pocket. Yep, I got that. And it's crazy because people love Jordan because of that chip, right? But they hate Russell Westbrook for it. So and I have to understand, like, you got to be able to matriculate. My mother has a saying that I didn't really understand until I got older. So we're from Nigeria, but we lived most of our lives for me, most of my life in Miami, right? So in Florida, we have hurricanes. And she used to have a saying that goes, the trees that don't fall in a hurricane are the ones that are able to give a little bit of bend. So palm trees, you never see a palm tree uprooted after a hurricane because they're flexible, right? They're rooted in the ground. They have their base, they have their trunk, but they say, okay, you know what? The wind's blowing left. I can go left. The wind's blowing right. I can go right. Opposed to oak trees, which you see all the times blown over because they're so rigid, right? And that's one thing that stuck with me. The trees that don't get blown over in a hurricane are the ones that have a little bit of bend. So I've been able to kind of use that as far as my coaching career.
Wow, that's deep. Shout out to Mom for that one.
Yeah, she's awesome.
We're all educators in this business, no matter what. I mean, it's coaching, and you're always trying to teach your kids not just about basketball, but about life. So, I always say this, and you said something earlier, like, parents bring their kids to campus, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, whatever they're doing, they're dropping them off. And they've done, and I always say this to parents, like, you've done a great job of rearing your children. I don't ever say raise, because raise is what you do to cattle. They're not animals. So I'm like, hey, you did a great job of rearing them for that long. And I'm like, so they come to campus as a young man. They're leaving as a man. My job is to take them from point A to point B. This is the 4 or 5 most important years of their life that's going to develop them into a man now. And so when I say that, like, what would you try to teach your players besides basketball?
It's a great question. And the ultimate answer, and why I believe God has put me on this platform and God has given me this platform, is to infuse Jesus Christ into the lives of young men. And I've had a hard time doing that, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how, right? And I have to shout out guys like Richie McKay, who give me calls and call me back. Richie McKay calling Charles Agumagu back, crazy, right? Texting Charles Agumagu back, right? Have to shout out guys like Del Layer at Texas A&M, right? Proven track record winner, right? Who called me back, who texted me back. Have to shout out guys like Jason G at Cincinnati, right? RJ Barsh at Boise State. Of course, my guy Patrick Gale at Albany State. Because they've all taught me that it's not so much what you say, right? Because what people miss the mark. Why Christians turn so many people off is because by you telling them what they should do, you're condemning them. Oh, you got to read your Bible. If you don't read your Bible, you're going to hell. Oh, you got to go to church. If you don't go to church, you're going to hell, right? That's a turnoff, right? So what I try to do is I try to live my life the best way I can be. I try to be the light, right? Because I want a student athlete to say, well, I mean, Coach Charles is doing the same thing that I'm doing, but for some reason he's doing it differently. And I want them to come and say, Coach Charles, so like, why do you do this, that, and the third? Oh, because this is how, like, I was raised to do it. The Bible says so and so, right? The Bible says, do unto others as you want others to do unto you, right? And by you living that way, and you, just your life, not your words, but by your life, like, causing them to be like, what? He's not too much older than me, but like, he's doing things differently. That says it all, because that means they've seen Christ in me, right? And they're now accepting to hear my doctrine, right? Not even my doctrine, just the doctrine of him, right, through me. So that's the biggest thing I try to employ, because I said, regardless if you go to the NBA, if you go overseas, or if you have a 9 to 5, what is your life rooted upon, right? What is your hope built on? See, I tell guys, my hope, my life is built on nothing less than Jesus Christ, right? And that's it. What is your foundation built upon? All right, because if you can't make a layup, there's no way I'm telling you to reverse pivot, get to a jump hook, you can't make a layup. Right? So what's your foundation built upon? Right? And it transcends more than basketball. It transcends more than black and white. It's literally your life at its core. And Lamar, I'll say it. If I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. To God be the glory for great things he has done, because I'm well aware without him doing it, I'm not here. I'm not here.
Powerful. What are your best and worst memories in coaching? You're young, but like I'm sure you had some, you know what I'm saying? But what's the best and worst memories in coaching?
Oh my goodness. I started my worst, and it's funny because I was talking to Coach Chris, who's our director of basketball performance, right, in the car today. And we
Joey Grip,
my man. We played Joey Gripper. I believe it. Yeah, Gripper was on this staff. Holy smokes. We played UVA at UVA, like our 4th game of the season, right? And they beat the absolute brakes off of us, right? They went on to win the national championship this year. And I was like, yo, we didn't have a chance, huh? We played really good defense. It's those bye games that are blowouts. And it was between, I remember it was UVA who beat the brakes out of us, and we were all over Sports Center because the manager turned basketball player, however that works for compliance, banged home a 3 against us. I'm like, Jesus Christ. All right, we're all over Sports Center. It was between UVA, but that game was kind of like a slow beat down. I remember Dayton beat, it was the 2nd game of the season. And like, I don't even think Jared Cunningham played this game. But this is when I was really introduced to Obi Toppin. I was like, oh my God, they beat the brakes off of us. All right, like, oh, they were awesome. And then Richmond run the Princeton offense. I think we were down like 20 for the first media. Geez, my God, those were 3 of the worst coaching moments of my life, because I just wanted to like melt, just be invisible, bro. Like if I could drink something that made me invisible, I would want to get away. Southwest getaway. My Lord, did I ever want to get away? And my best coaching moment to date was, and it was my scout, so it's all very dear to me, when we beat Loyola Chicago at Loyola Chicago. And it wasn't fluke. It wasn't any cheating. We were just a better team, right? And to go into that environment and to have multiple starters and players on that roster from their Final Four run, and to just beat them. And to cry those tears with Coach Dixon, because we know how much we've been through, right? We know we've had our backs against the wall since walking into this job. I was just happy for him, right? Because I heard he doesn't deserve the job. Why they pick him. But if you know the type of person he is, you root for him, right? To go into Loyola Chicago and to win that game was awesome. Was awesome, man. Because they're a really well coached team, right? They're a really good basketball team. But to be able to win that game, right, and to have no doubt, right? Like, we were just like, man, we're gonna win this game. Forget all of that. We're gonna win all this game. That was, in my young career, that was awesome.
That's big time. That's big time. Now you and I keep saying young, but to me, I'm just Vills, and they don't realize it. And no one, whether you're old or young, you have it. Maybe you haven't experienced it yet. I'm hoping not. But like, what was the most stressful situation you have faced?
Man, it's really on the court, off the court. Excuse me. It was just like making sure our guys are eligible, and having the uphill battle of APR, because we're in a transfer league, and it works both ways for us, right? If we supposedly get a steal and develop him, right, he has every right to transfer. Right? We hope he doesn't, but he has every right to transfer, as well as we get guys to transfer in. So like the APR battle, and we're on the road so much in the non-conference because of guaranteed games, right, in our schedule, that it's really easy for 2 or 3 main guys to slip up and be ineligible. So the most stressful part of my job is making sure the group that Coach Dixon assigns me, whether it's 2 or 3 players, 3 or 4 players, are keeping up with everything they have to do. Because you understand, they're young men now. They're going to lie to you. Hey, you turn this in? Yeah, coach, I got you. And then a week later, oh, he didn't do it. Jeez Louise. Right? Like the most stressful part is the APR battle, keeping them eligible, as well as keeping them safe. Because being in Baltimore, right? And I tell recruits all the time, you can find whatever you're looking for in any city in the United States.
Yeah.
Right? You can go to Des Moines, Iowa, and whatever you're looking for, you're gonna find in Iowa, or Illinois, or Idaho, or North and South Dakota. You're gonna find whatever you're looking for, right? But to be in a city, a major city, right, where everything is more accessible, right? Being able to give a young man back to their parents unharmed, right, is a success for us, for me. And I tell people, I say, you know, we have to change the benchmark of what we consider success. Yes, 21 seasons are successes. NCAA appearances are successes. Absolutely. I don't take that away. But being kind of put in a situation where your back's against the wall and you're climbing an uphill battle, right? And you're in a city that's known for violence, right? Being able to get 13 young men in and give back 13 young men is a success. And we have to change our mindset of success. So those are a couple of things that really keep me up at night, making sure they're safe and eligible.
All true. This is gonna kind of make you laugh. It could be something sad, but like, what is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
Strangest thing a player has done outside the basketball court, is constantly miss doctor's appointments. Like if it and it's not like just a regular doctor's appointment. It's like, yo, bro, you gotta have an eval on your shoulder, right? You have to have an eval on your shoulder because A, you're trying to medically redshirt, so we need the documentation, and B, just for you. So it's funny, right? A young man who left our program this year, medically redshirt with a shoulder injury, right? And Lamar, when I tell you the kid, either his phone was dead, his alarm didn't go off, right? Or he thought that the appointment was this day at a different time, or he went late to the appointment this day. It even got so bad that we asked the doctor to come to campus, right? And he still missed the appointment. And he still missed the appointment. And we're just like, yo, bro, help us help you. You need surgery on your shoulder. The team physician has to like recommend that. He has to make sure everything else is cool in order for you to do that. Like, yeah, coach, I thought it was blah, blah, blah. Like, yo, read your text. Answer the call. And crazy enough, for a dude that would miss several appointments, his phone would be on this type of ultimate D&D that regardless of how many times you call, it still take you to voicemail. Ridiculous. But let it be that he needed a ride somewhere, right? Or he needed help doing this, that, and the third. He'd hit us up. Literally the craziest thing, bro. Unbelievable.
Yep, that's 17, 18, 19-year-old guys.
Unbelievable.
It's different. Like you said, this year, you work for Juan Dixon, outstanding player. I think you got a bright future in this business.
Thank you.
And I always say, I don't think you'll be in that place a long time. I mean, you got goals. I mean, of course, everybody wants to move, and You know, you don't have to be looking, but you want to move. You want to get to the highest level possible.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you had a chance to work for anyone in men's college basketball, like who would that be and why? And that could be either AD or a head coach. Like who would you say, hey man, that's a guy that I would love to work for?
It's a good question. Few guys come to mind, like off the rip, Leonard Hamilton, because he's a black successful coach in this business. I love Leonard Hamilton. I'm a huge fan of Buzz Williams because of how he speaks, because of his faith, right? I'm a huge fan of, Buzz Williams, Leonard Hamilton. I'm a huge fan of current Coach Martin at Mizzou, right? Because of his faith, because of how he speaks, because of his substance. Richie McKay, and just one guy that I'm in awe of, that I love. And if you know me, you know I love him. Is Coach Calipari at Kentucky, right? So many people hate on him, but I watched that 30 for 30. I swear to you, bro, I might have watched that 100 times because I had to record it, right? And just it's something about his passion for those players. Because ultimately, he doesn't care about his success. It's about their success. 99.9% of coaches, when Devin Booker says he wants to come back, oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's your scholarship. The dude ripped up Devin Booker's scholarship. The dude ripped up Jamal Murray's scholarship. You know what I mean? He's you got to go. Why wouldn't you? Take care of your family. Coach K, because I want to know, his secrets on recruiting, on, how he got there, his mindset. Of course, Coach K, right? I want to learn from those guys, right? But those names I named, as far as Leonard Hamilton, Buzz Williams, and Council Martin, because they encompass more than just coaching. They're father figures. They're black men in an era where 99% of our players are black, but 2% of our coaches are black. You see what I'm saying? I want to learn how they navigate the scene, right? How they maneuver. What's their mindset? What's the end goal for them, right? So Leonard Hamilton's top of the list for me. Buzz Williams, top of the list. And it's crazy because you know why Buzz is on top of that list? Not last season, the year before last, before he got to Texas A&M, I believe they made the Sweet 16 run, or I think it was Sweet 16 at Virginia Tech. And I remember watching a video on Twitter where he prayed for each and every one of his seniors after they lost that game. And he poured into their lives, right? It wasn't just, Father's Day care. He knew their story, and he poured into each and every one of their lives, right? That stood out to me. And I know I don't only want to grow in this business as a coach. I want to be a husband one day. I want to be a father one day. And I want mentors like yourself, like Coach Gale, like Coach Dixon, to lead me on that path. Tell me what to do right. Because anybody can know how to guard a flex. Anybody can know how to attack an ice or how to teach an ice, right? Anybody can teach you how to play 5 out. But can you teach me how to be a man that my wife needs me to be? Can you teach me how to be the father my children need me to be? Can you teach me how to be the role model that these players need me to be? And if the answer is no, regardless of the money you can offer me, it's gonna be counterintuitive because counterproductive because I lose myself. So those are a few names and the reasons why.
That's good stuff. Those are good, some really good names there. This is going to be interesting. You got to think a little bit. You might already know it. I don't know. I know you're young in basketball, but what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
Whew. My week. What movie or TV show series? This is a good one. The Office. Now, The Office is a show that is awesome because it's multi-layered, right? On the surface, you see a sitcom, right? But when you watch it and you start to build with the characters and learn and grow and learn who they are, you can start to relate. Now, why The Office? Because throughout the course of the season, having again, I'm the second assistant, and like we don't have a third assistant, so like that third spot is like a volunteer dobo position, right? Having a volunteer dobo, I have to oversee all of that. I have to oversee like what he's doing, student assistants are doing. I schedule all the games. I make sure I book all the flights. I get all the hotels. I coordinate with the bus companies. So even though I might have a scout, even though I might have like UM, we play UM, and this is my scout, I have to make sure that all the tickets are accurate to get on this plane before we play them. That the hotel has been paid for, right? That the bus knows where to pick us up at. So I spend a lot of my time in my office, right, doing a lot more logistical work than the title calls for. So throughout the week, The Office is definitely there. The Office.
That's a terrific answer, man. What's your favorite word or phrase?
Favorite word or phrase? Wow. Gotta be a player. Gotta be a player. Like I cannot tell you what to do in every situation because it's an imperfect game, right? So I said, you gotta be a player. Gotta be a player. You gotta figure it. Come on, man. You gotta be a player. That's my favorite phrase. Gotta be a player. Right. And that's what I look for as recruits. I said, Coach, is he a player, Coach? Is he a player? And I stole that phrase from Marty Richter, right, who's now at Drake, when he was the head coach of Florida Southwestern. He said, guys, you gotta be players, guys. I went to a practice with Coach Gale, and he was talking to his players. He said, guys, you got to be players. Coaches want players, not robots. They want players. And to this day, I've adopted that saying. You got to be a player, guys.
I like that. I like that. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Wow, that's a great one. Best piece of advice I've ever been given. Get coffee, get water, shut the bleep up.
Wow. Now who's that from?
It was advice given from my associate head coach. It wasn't directed at me, but it was advice that his mentor gave him. Because before he got to Coppin, he was with the Maine Red Claws, right? Young dude. And he said his mentor, David Atkins, who's now with the Washington Wizards, said, get water, get coffee, and shut the bleep up. Because in doing so, right, no task is beneath you, right? But you also learn, because there's no way you can learn with your mouth and ears both open. You don't. Get water, get coffee, essentially saying nothing is beneath you. Whatever needs to be done, make sure you do it to the best of your ability and not begrudgingly. And listen, right? Because by listening, you learn. So shout out to John Oslander.
I like that. Where is your happy place?
Oh, my happy place. And this changes, and I needed to change my happy places when I'm at home with my girlfriend, or when she's here. That's my sanctuary. She understands. She's a former athlete herself. That she understands like what my goals and my aspirations, and just being able to be under her, right, keeps me sane. But I say that needs to change, right? Not because she's done anything wrong, but because my happy place needs to be within myself when I'm speaking to God. Just being able to talk to him, like just being able to like unplug, right? And just being able to lay here and say, you know what, I don't want the TV on, my phone's on silent. I just want to be able to be, it's just you and I, right, in this place, in this moment. And just be able to like cast my worries, my fears, my doubts onto him, right? And just listen and just feel his presence. So that's kind of where those are two of my places that make me really happy.
Good stuff. Good stuff. If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
3 adjectives to describe myself. Let's go. 3 adjectives. Loyal, respectful, tenacious.
Oof, 3 great ones. Wow. Tenacious, I like that. I like the tenacious. And I'm gonna ask this is like almost kind of the next to the last question, but like, what person or event, or event has had the most influence on your life?
I can say person unequivocally is my mother because of the strength that she's shown, man. And you know, I speak of my mother, not like my father was out of our lives, rest in peace to him, but just the strength she showed. You know, it's not, you know, we would talk about it's not easy being a black man in America. It's damn hard to being a black woman in America because at least you're a man. At least they respect you that much as a man, you know.
Yeah.
Being a black woman in America from Nigeria, born and raised in Nigeria, right, who moved here at an older age in her 30s, right? She just had the most influence in my life. And, you know, there's never a dull moment with her. And, you know, I get emotional talking about her because she's my why. And I tell people, if you are your why, then when you're tired and when you don't feel like it, you're not going to do it. But if there's a bigger why and another why than yourself, you can hearken onto their strength. And man, she gives me all the strength and motivation I need. She really does, man. And as far as moment, she's entwined in it as well. I remember again when I was looking to be a GA or Dobo or anywhere at the Division I level. I remember I emailed every Division I program in the country, all of them, every staff. And I remember like I was in the running for like EKU, like a GA spot at EKU. I didn't get it. I didn't get the GA spot at Florida State, a few other schools. And I told my mother, I said, man, you know, maybe I do have to go to St. Thomas, go back to St. Thomas for another year. Maybe I do have to pay my dues, right? And she looked at me and said, if your Lord and Savior already paid it all, what do you have to pay? And as profound and as deep that is, it's never left me till this day. It's never left me to this day. So if your Lord and Savior has already paid it all, what dues do you have to pay? So, yeah, man, it's my mom.
That's powerful, man. That's some deep stuff. You throwing some stuff out there, like, and that's why, you know, we do this show. It's just it's your story. You don't even realize it, but it has been. And so I always kind of end with this question. And yours is a little different because you're still young. You're not, but just in this short span, like knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago to prepare you to be for an assistant coach, as being an assistant coach?
What would I tell myself? Everybody isn't your friend, and those people that are your friend, hold them very dear. Because everybody gonna smile and laugh in your face because you have that polo on, as they should, right? Because they try to get a piece of you, regardless of what they can get, right? If they can call you their guy and you retweet their tweets and you go look at their players, it's good pub for them. But everybody isn't your friend, right? Don't be surprised when you hear something that they said about you. But those who are your friend, make sure it's deeper than basketball. Check on their mental, check on their wives, check on their children, just check on how they're doing, right? Not everybody's your friend, and that's okay.
That's some great advice right there. So we're coming to the end of the show, and I want to thank you again, Charles, for being a guest on the show. Like I said, when I asked, you didn't hesitate. So, like I said, I thank you for coming on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything that you want to say to end the show?
Man, thank you for having me. Of course, thank you so much for having me. And I guess where we're at right now in our nation, Black lives matter, right? And I say that not to say that white lives don't matter, but Black lives matter. And please stand with us. Please cry with us. And ultimately just listen. Because if you listen, you'll understand, right? Because it's really hard for you as a coach, and I'm talking to the coaches, not even just to the coaches. And I got a bone to pick with a lot of y'all, because y'all find yourselves sitting down in home visits and talking to a Black man with a Black mom and a Black dad and telling them that you have their best interests at heart, right? And you have to ask yourself, that same Black 5-star recruit, you just went into their home and said you care about them, you want them to be a staple in their community, right? If that same kid was to walk outside of his doors and get killed by police brutality, how would you feel about that? In the same sense, you've made millions of dollars in generational wealth off of the backs of those young men. And they need your voice. And they don't need you to be right. They don't need you to ride the fence. They need you, right? And because he no longer serves a purpose as far as running your floppy offense or hard hedging every ball screen or catching a lob or making a timely three, doesn't mean his life doesn't matter. So I want to reach out to every coach who's been on the fence or haven't said anything. Black lives matter, right? And it shouldn't just matter for 3 hours out of the day when they're in your practice or they're wearing your colors. So that's where I'll leave it.
That's deep, man. That's deep. So thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time and stay safe.
Thank you.